Popcorn and Pictures podcast.
The Knicks are indeed world champions of the basketball world. Knicks in 5. I said Knicks in 6. They beat me by a game, and honestly, I mean, they were close. They absolutely could have pulled off a sweep. they were just a few bounces from doing it. But congrats to the Knicks. Congrats to their fans. Congrats to New York. Thankfully, New York will not suffer another terrible trauma. I swear, if the Knicks had blown the 2-0 lead, as it looked like there was a chance they would, that would have been not equal, I will stress, but would have been the worst trauma since 9/11 on New York, I think.
Jesus, okay.
I'm not even joking. I think that's the reality, and I think there's a bunch of people who would agree with me. Again, not equal. I'm just saying worse since then.
Okay, fair. Pretty good series. I think this is a nice demonstration how, the Spurs, for so much of the series, they had the game. It felt like they had the game in the bag, but I think it was, as people said, they
literally led by double digits each game.
It's as people said, they probably were a little ahead of schedule and a little too young. Sure. I was telling my brother, I didn't realize of the 5 starters on the Spurs, I think only 2 or 3 of them are able to drink legally, which is insane.
No, they're all.
No. Stephon Castle, I think, is like. I think 22. He's barely 21. Okay, 22.
He's 22. Wemby's 22. De'Aaron Fox is 28. Champagny is in his, I think, is like 25. And why am I blanking out?
Carter Bryant is 20 years old.
Yeah, Carter Bryant's a bench player. You said starting lineup.
Is he not a starter? I thought he was a starter.
No.
Never mind.
You're wrong.
Oh, you're right. I guess.
We're talking. Who's the other guy? Why am I blanking out on the other?
Did you say Dylan Harper yet?
He's bench, and he is too young to drink.
Well, I guess I got my starters wrong.
Yeah, now you got me upset. I've already forgotten who the Spurs were. They're gone. They're
yesterday's news.
They're yesterday's news. No, they will very much be. They will very much be. The next season's news, the seasons after that, probably a long time. Devin Vassell, that's why I couldn't remember. And Devin Vassell is 25 years. So fact check, Jose, you are incorrect. Every member of the starting lineup can drink. Alas for them, they had no reason to drink other than to drink their sorrows away. So
I always thought how funny it would be if they won the championship. Like, 'cause you always see like the videos like Kobe Bryant and like Michael Jordan like popping champagne when they win. Like, are the 20-year-olds just like not supposed to be present in the room when they're spraying everybody?
I think there's stuff going on in the Backrooms.
If I could relate to movies real quickly, Spike Lee is 69 years old. The last time the Knicks won the championship, our boy Mr. Lee was, I think, 16 or 17 or 18 years old. That's insane.
It's
true.
That's
insane.
And hey, congrats to Spike and all the celebrity Knicks fans too. I think it's like one of those things. Like, if I ever make that much money, I'm absolutely spending some of it to also do what Spike Lee does. And that's dedication. Because you see like Taylor Swift, people like that. Just show up. As bandwagon fans, basically celebrities, bandwagon celebrity fans, versus guys like Spike Lee, who is obviously a celebrity, but has also bled Knicks orange his entire life. So along with Timothée Chalamet. So.
Do you think that Spike Lee buys his tickets, or do you think he is invited?
He at least bought his season tickets. I think they, for the finals, might have given him access to courtside. But I think most of his seats he's bought. He's held season tickets for a long time.
Yeah. I feel like he's a spokesperson at this point almost.
Yeah, he kind of is. And what did Timothée Chalamet say? Do you know?
I don't know.
Way rather this talking about the Knicks championship than the Oscars. And to that I say, bravo, Timothy, bravo.
I was going to say, you didn't have to wait as long as Spike Lee, though. But I'm terribly sorry. I heard you almost segue into the movie discussion and cut you off with my Spike Lee fun fact. So
is it a Spike Lee fun fact? I was just saying, about the Spurs, players, or, any player who's too young to drink, about some stuff going on in the backrooms, which, speaking of backrooms, Jose, it's not as funny now because you just bulldozed over it.
I think that was a graceful transition. I think
the first movie we were talking about today is the horror sensation based off of some creepypasta lore off the internet called Backrooms, made by a young filmmaker, Kane Parson, very young filmmaker, who coincidentally is from our home area in adjoining county to us, and also coincidentally competed in some of the same contests as some of our fellows. Obviously, he's gone on to do better things. The other guys, they've done nothing of note. But enough about that. Well, now when they really succeed, everybody will be like, wow, that's cool,
Check out Haunting of Hype House and Wander West. But anyways.
Yeah, shout out. Wander West and Dissectoid is another great little one. That one's actually a true award winner. In fact, Backrooms, despite all its commercial success, I bet it would be much happier with walking away with some of the awards Dissectoid has taken. But enough said. Let's talk about Backrooms itself. Jose, did you have any familiarity with the concept of the Backrooms before you watched the film?
I feel like the most I've seen of Backrooms is probably something that a lot of people have probably seen. I'm familiar with just like seeing POV shots of video games and you're being chased by a JPEG of like Michael Jackson or something. That's my familiarity with Backrooms. I was hoping to have my brother on. He couldn't make it, but I know that there's like an internet. I knew there's like an internet kind of sent almost like just like a lore of Backrooms that exists. Because my brother, he knew about Backrooms, and he said when he first saw the trailer and like the title Backrooms got revealed, my brother was like, "Oh, they're making a movie about that." So, if those who don't know, existed on 4chan, and it's the idea of I'm blanking on the word right now. Liminal space. There you go. Which is defined by a transitional space like a hallway or a lobby. But liminal space core is like just images of an empty space that usually has a lot of people, but just something about the absence of the people kind of triggers like this fear in the uncanny valley of just not seeing people. And it's a little off-putting, which in this case, they kind of explore the idea of exploring liminal space through like another dimension. They have to go through a wall in a retail store. It's kind of like, think about it, it's hard to pitch. It really kind of exists in like the visual and the actual experience of seeing what that concept is of just never ending rooms. I think ultimately with the movie, I enjoyed the idea more than the actual, I enjoyed the experience of the idea rather than the actual story.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I could not agree more. I thought the atmosphere, the production design, even like the shots, like the director, again, I want to stress this. Any critiques I have of the movie must also be in the context that the director is so much younger than almost any other director working on that level. Is the fact that even if I disagree with some of the choices the movie does, and even if I think the movie could have done some things better, could I have pulled off what he did? Probably not, so, even with the resources. So, with that in mind, that big heavy asterisk, I do think the movie relied a lot on the atmosphere and production design because the story had some very interesting threads that it just never really walked through. Not even to a point where you can say, oh, they're setting up a franchise or a sequel. It's just like, no, they don't really follow through on exploring some of these things, and the cast, a phenomenal cast, but honestly wasted to a degree because they just don't have the material to fully run out some of the plot threads.
Yeah. A lot of waste potential. I felt like a lot of the movie I like when a movie focuses on one character and then by the halfway point in the movie, it focuses our attention to a completely new character, related but new character. I think I would have enjoyed it more if they focused on. I'm going to butcher his name, even though I know him. I know him. I've seen him in previous projects. Chiwetel Ejiofor. It would have been kind of nice to see him go that downward spiral. Like what exactly is causing
him? You pronounced that, and I didn't. Thank God.
Well, I probably butchered it, honestly, but it would have been a little bit more.
You couldn't have butchered it worse than I would have.
It would have been more fascinating to see him kind of go that downward spiral. I kind of want to see the progression of that. But again, I think what the movie has going for it is, again, it's just the concept of the backrooms, just like, again, this never-ending void of basically hallways. I think you and I are not familiar with the internet sensation of backrooms. No,
not to the degree not to the degree of the otherwise, I'm sure, fully locked in to the lore audience I was a part of in my screening of it. It was honestly, I was like, it was kind of like, that was kind of eye opening for me. I mean, yes, obviously I'm like at one of the biggest theaters in the world, but that's kind of besides the point. It was a super late night showing. It wasn't like an IMAX or Dolby theater, it wasn't the best, and it was still packed. And it was like, oh, this is pretty big, and yeah, I never was there. I never explored the back rooms up until now.
Yeah, and I think you and I got the benefit of kind of experience it the first time in this way, because I can imagine, a little, not oversaturation, but being exposed to it immediately being exposed to it beforehand, we wouldn't have the same reaction as we did, because this is my first exposure to the idea of this, at least in a cinematic form or even in any sort of video form for that matter. So I was pretty engaged, and I'm happy you mentioned the kind of like wide range of audience, because I saw this on a Tuesday at, I think, 11 o'clock. I just wanted to, save some money and catch a matinee of it. But despite that, my room was full.
It contribute to Jose's movie fund to keep funding this podcast today. Give him your Venmo, Jose.
I don't even know what it is.
Wow. I try and help a man, and he's not even prepared. Sorry, folks.
I'll find it in a second. But despite all that, though,
log line.
But despite all that, though, watching on a Tuesday, my theater was full of like kids on a Tuesday, which I thought was interesting.
Disgusting having kids for an R-rated movie. Horrific.
I'm not talking about like children, but like kind of like high schoolers.
So you're just being demeaning.
Yeah, basically. I saw older people than me by themselves watching this movie, and the cool thing is that everyone in that movie got a reaction out of it, which was kind of nice to hear. I got the same reaction as I did with Obsession. So when something creep was happening, you kind of hear people always like, what the heck? And yeah, I mean, I'm happy it's getting a good turnout.
Yeah. Before I forget, what's your Venmo?
You actually want to know? It is at Mendoza Huijon, HUIJON _.
All right, there you go, folks. Contribute to Jose's movie fund today. Help a man in need. Thank you. Help a minority in need. His people are going through a lot now with ICE and all. So help him out. He needs it badly. You know what? If movie tickets at my theater are $15, matinee is $6. It's less than half. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to save money by doing that. Mm-hmm. That's true. Give him another $6 so he can go when he wants to. Anyway, going back to the Backrooms. Yeah, interesting. I did not have the same, and I'm going to talk about the crowd reactions a lot because the film honestly just doesn't have like a ton. We will get into it, but like a ton to really like examine back and forth about, or at least that was my interpretation. The crowd definitely did not react the same way in Obsession that the crowd I saw Obsession with. Obsession really was like, was a fun movie to see a crowd with. There was nothing like bad with the crowd I was at. It didn't have the same energy. Part of that is just the two differences in tone. Obsession obviously has a much more explicit comedic tone to it at times, as well as just completely batshit crazy. Whereas Backrooms is again just more of an atmospheric dread than anything that's like particularly gory or shocking or even humorous. There's nothing. I mean, would you say that's fair to say there's not like a ton of comedy in Backrooms?
No, not at all. Not at all. You're right. It's like it's purely driven by the atmosphere. But I think it was that kind of was. I guess what I'm trying to say, the reaction. No one was laughing necessarily, or at all, rather. But it was just kind of like moments of, it was like uneasy in the theater. You could just hear people like on edge, expressing that verbally. Again, like kind of whispering, and there actually was laughter. Not in a comedic sense, but out of uncomfortability, almost like that kind of like nervousness laughter, people, like I said, people were really enjoying it. And again, the thing is, even though I'm not really exposed to the Backrooms concept, I think this is a movie that this is a movie that in my mind kind of did analog horror correct, which analog horror is, you're laughing, but it's this like subgenre that existed off internet culture. Looking into it, it's just kind of like the idea of like lost footage shot with like grainy footage that purely exists on the internet, and it's creepypasta. That's what it is, really. Yeah, it's kind of like the first creepypasta movie.
Brilliantly dissected by the internet historian known as Jose Mendoza. Thank you. I did. No, I did. I mean, the concept is very interesting, especially with some of the things that they hint in the film that I don't think they develop very well. Is that it's like this? What's the line they use? That it's like what the Backrooms is manifesting as is like memories, but it's like a person if you described a dog to them, but they'd never seen a dog. Like what that would look at. It's not going to look like a dog. It will look like something maybe close to it, but it will be off and noticeably so. So I thought that was interesting, like with the memories, some of the memories they were playing with the two main characters, but it just, it didn't feel like it went anywhere. So, and then at the very end, the movie does like a clear, I think, like tie into the other lore and also like presumably a setup for a sequel of some sort. And it's just like such a waste of one of the actors involved, and also very much like, okay, so we made it this far. Now we just have to wait or go on the internet to find out more. It was just felt lazy, but again, the director and writer is only 20, 21?
20. But presumably 19 when he was shooting the movie.
19 when he was shooting the movie. So I'll let it slide. I think there's a lot of leeway given his age. And with that being said, there were very clear like technical aspects that he was exceeding at or very doing well. So the fact that this wasn't like a disaster of a movie, for one thing, it wasn't even a bad movie. It was just an okay movie by a major film studio that he's directing at that age bodes well for his future and talent level.
Well, he definitely had the benefit of, kind of testing the waters before with YouTube. The stakes were much lower back in the day when he was just making it for YouTube. So it's almost like he was probably more familiar with actually making this. But granted, though, if you don't know, what was impressive is that he created the whole idea of the Backrooms with the free animating software, which I can't rent. Blender. Yes. Thank you. The thing is, so this movie actually utilizes sets, which I want to talk about because, it's
Blender
impressive.
Sponsor us.
Yeah, right.
We're talking about you. We're praising you.
Never used Blender in my life, but which I should, honestly. I'm surprised I haven't. But I'm willing to try out animation. The only class in college I ever dropped out of because it was too hard, though, I will say.
Interesting.
No, the thing is, you said it's I actually enjoyed the movie quite a bit. If not for the story, definitely, again, just the idea of Backrooms.
And I mean, we've been over like I'm more harsh on story than anything else, just because that's the thing I care most about with movies. So, do you have anything more to say? I'm kind of run out of things to say.
Well, I feel like we haven't really talked about the story. We don't have to like talk about
That's
it too
because
heavily.
there's no story. I'm just kidding. No, you're right.
I mean, it's kind of a cop out because it feels like the easy way out. Like the Chiwetel Ejiofor is an architect, and then another person I can't pronounce. Rensvat something from Sentimental Value and The Worst Person in the World.
Phenomenal actress.
Yeah.
Very strange. This was a film she took on given her prior work, but hey, maybe she's just a big fan.
She's a therapist, which kind of feels a little like an easy route, especially given like the circumstances of the story. Her story about her childhood, not fleshed out. I don't really know what exactly was traumatizing about her childhood, and I felt like that was very unrecognized or not really fully explored.
Yeah, so I don't know if you looked it up. What they were trying to get at was that her mom, I forget the term for it, but basically is just like has a major like phobia of like anything happening to her. Very protective. It's a overly protective streak, but to the extreme. So that's kind of what it is. But yeah, they don't really explore what happens with her mother fully, as to what presumably gave her some trauma. And even in the Backrooms itself, you don't get a ton. You don't get to the same degree, certainly, that the other main character. What's his name in Backrooms? I forget. Let's see. Clark. Yeah, Clark. The mainly, you don't get the same degree that he gets, and even he kind of gets left behind at some point in the story. Like it reaches a point with him, and then it's like, oh, we don't really.
Yeah,
I want to say care about the character, but they didn't invest anymore in his character after a certain point to making you feel, and he's kind of a jerk too. So
I kind of heard another podcast I listened to, which. It's not exactly what they said, but I kind of thought about it after I heard the episode. For me, I felt like I cared about the characters, but it's almost like it wasn't really rewarding with what we got. I said it earlier. I kind of like the idea of two different characters in a movie. Kind of handing the baton off from one protagonist to the next protagonist, right? I think I would have enjoyed it though if maybe with Chiwetel Ejiofor, him just kind of exploring the Backrooms more and just being so obsessed that he goes insane. Or focus on the therapist where, he's talking to Clark and he's going insane and she doesn't believe him. And then he fails. And as a therapist, she wants to kind of like redeem herself and fix her patient, but then realizes that, he's not insane. It's true. And then she loses herself in the back room. It would have been kind of nice to kind of focus on one of those stories, I feel like, as opposed to, how about this? I would wish we got a full-fledged story as opposed to two half-baked stories.
I agree. It felt like, when they were stopped being interested in his character arc, that it switched to being more about her.
Yeah.
And then the movie just kind of ended without even developing her out.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the story fails, but again, I enjoyed so much about it. One thing that we didn't even mention once was the whole found footage aspect, kind of shot on like a old 1990s digital camera. I enjoyed that. Yeah, that was.
I did, and that's a good point because there's been films. Actually, you and I have seen together that have utilized that effect to a more extreme than this movie does, but in a way that I found very distracting. And this one I didn't find distracting at all. Part of it helped. Obviously, the movie takes place in that time frame, but part of it is just it was done well. It felt very seamlessly added in. Or incorporated into the overall narrative.
Yeah. And I think utilized really well, too, in the sense that it evoked like a sense of fear, just kind of the way it was presented. I don't know. It just kind of added this element of horror that I feel like wouldn't have worked well if it wasn't there. But I don't know. I enjoyed the room. I enjoyed the film Backrooms quite a bit. Yeah.
Rating?
Leaving the movie, I felt like a solid 8. Like I was really in love with it. But again, as I kind of sat with it, it left me wishing for a better story. So yeah, I'm saying a 7 out of 10.
All right, 7. Wow, very, very charitable, Jose.
I enjoyed it.
Much higher than I thought it would be. I would say a solid 6 of 10.
Okay.
Not a movie I would go back to watch again. I wouldn't hate it if I was forced to watch it again, but it's not something I would seek out.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
What was my question though about the movie? Did you totally ADD moment to forget what I was going to ask? Did you go back and watch any of the Kane Parsons YouTube videos of Backrooms or no?
No, I want to, but I just have. There's so many movies, so little time. Maybe one of these days we will. Maybe in prep for Backrooms too.
I would say if you're like me and you love the movie, if you were like me and you love the movie, I would recommend kind of checking them out. But I wouldn't. I mean, they're fine. You know, it's again analog horror. That's what it is, and it works.
And when the guy was, presumably just starting out, so
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
So that was Backrooms. I wish I was more excited about that movie because things like the atmosphere. I really do like the production design and everything, but the story just doesn't get me excited enough about it, unfortunately. Which brings me to a movie that's very exciting. It's thrilling. It has bounty hunters. It has little green adorable aliens. It has starships. It has laser fights. It has basically the sci-fi version of sumo wrestling in it. It's quite something. And I'm talking, of course, about the latest edition of the Star Wars film franchise, Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, a spinoff, or I don't know, spinoff probably is even too harsh to say. It's a offshoot of sorts of The Mandalorian, the hit Disney Plus show, with the second titular character, Grogu, being also prominently featured in the show. And you may have detected a hint of sarcasm in my voice, Jose, when I was listing all these exciting things, because I would rather watch Backrooms many times over than I would Mandalorian and Grogu. Putting aside even some of the other stuff going on in theaters right now. But I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I've loved Star Wars for years. This is about the most soulless cash grab I think they've ever done. Especially even in the Disney era, that's saying something. Like before, most of the Disney stuff was just like ill-advised. This is clearly just made for merchandising purposes.
You said this was a like an offshoot. Is this not?
I don't even know. I don't even know what I would call it, because
is this just not a continuation of the story of this show?
It kind of is. The reason I hesitate to say that, and one of my issues with the movie, is because there's basically no connective tissue to the series other than, obviously The Mandalorian and Grogu. Everything else, you could walk in knowing nothing about the movie and walk in and walk out with pretty much the same experience.
So I as you I feel like, just for the viewers, I am not that was my cat. I'm not a Star Wars fan. I try to be when the sequels are coming out, the sequel trilogy.
The worst time.
I just didn't really grow up with it. Yeah, basically. And I don't know. I was kind of going into this, hoping. That's the thing. I may not be a fan of Star Wars, but I think the idea is pretty neat. I'm kind of always rooting for a new Star Wars movie to be good. Like, I don't care. I didn't grow up with it. I just want a good movie out of it. But yeah, no relation to the TV show. I saw a few episodes, but again, I kind of dropped it because I just didn't really care enough about the universe to commit so many hours to a series. And the movie is comprehensible considering I don't know anything about the TV show. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's just it was just a movie, it was just
you've heard me say this before, there are some movies that aren't just a movie, and I think that's not always a bad thing. Some movies are there just for pure entertainment. They're there to just be a good time at the movies. They may not be the most thought-provoking movie, but they're just fun. They're fun to watch. They're fun to experience in a crowd. this is this is one of those movies that while, yeah, there's some parts that are fun, it just feels like it's not even trying to be that. Like it's more concerned with just, okay, making a Star Wars movie so we keep the merchandise line going,
right?
You know? So I think, what'd you say in your review about, people cheering in your theater?
Yeah. So really funny. The movie we just talked about, Backrooms. I saw Backrooms at like 11, 12 o'clock in the morning or afternoon, whatever. And then 7 hours later, I went to co-catch Mandalorian and Grogu at the same theater. And which is funny, going back to the pricing, both these movies cost less than an average day any other day for a movie ticket. But that's besides the point. I was watching the movie. I was kind of late, so I had to get like a bad seat. I was checked out very, very early on in the movie. And unlike Backrooms, which, there was a nice kind of reaction to the movie as the movie was going on, no one was really reacting to this movie. So I just kind of thought everyone was checked out the same way I was. And then the movie ends and you see directed by Jon Favreau and everyone's just clapping. And
no offense to John, but
And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I'm not trying to yuck people's yums, but I didn't really see what they saw,
Say that again.
They don't, I'm not trying to yuck their yums.
Yeah. I just wanted to hear you say it again.
I try not to.
Some yums.
I think what the movie, I will say this. I guess I never felt bored, again, which is always kind of like a feat, but it just didn't really give me much to chew on. I feel like the movie tried to explore themes of like childhood and fatherhood, but it was so surface level, just so unsophisticated in every way. And what I'm confused about too is because I've heard like criticisms about the movie, how it's hard to kind of engage with a character who you'd never see once, like because he's wearing a mask, you know what I'm saying? So you don't know what he's emotionally expressing. But is that not the case with the TV show though? Is like, how is that different? Like,
it's the same thing. And he probably shows, in terms of ratio to screen time, it shows his face more in the movie than he does in the show, So, it's like, I agree. I mean, look, Pedro Pascal is great. But to that point, he's barely in the movie.
Yeah.
They use two stunt performers the majority of the time, except for the handful of scenes, presumably where he has his mask off, to be part of the movie. And it's like, wow, you just reduced the guy to, and we get that's the shtick, for the Mandalorian. Like, he doesn't take his helmet off. That's one of the shticks. Okay. But it's like you've reduced one of the most charismatic actors of the current generation to basically nothing. You've taken away a lot of his skill, his ability to show off his skill.
Well, you kind of made me realize like something that just kind of made me feel like this is less of a movie. So the movie is, stunt doubles. Pedro Pascal like probably came in to do like a day or two's worth of shooting. And then he's like on the poster now, like Pedro Pascal in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Of course, he's doing the voice acting too, but like whatever, you could do that like maybe in a week, I'm guessing. I don't know how that works. I don't know what that scheduling looks like exactly. Grogu's a
man
puppet.
of his caliber, I'm sure, could have knocked that out within a couple hours or less.
Probably. Yeah, honestly, probably. Yeah. Grogu's a puppet. Impressive puppetry, which I'll talk about in a second. But kind of like the Mario movie.
Thoughts on that too.
Okay, we'll get to that. But like Mario, you paid Donald Glover who knows how much money to do a Yoshi voice, which you took the audio clips and just modified it so much to do a higher register pitch to make it sound like Yoshi. Like the bear, Jeremy Allen White, is in this movie, and he's doing the voice of
performance.
Rhoda or whatever, Rada, and his voice is also altered. It could have been anybody. What's the point of that? You've spent so much money on these star actors who are not like. It's just so insane to me.
It is. I mean, that speaks to a larger issue with Hollywood in general right now with, doing this thing where they cast all these A-list celebrities in roles just to get butts in the seats and inadvertently taking away work from skilled voice actors who that's been their entire profession, but I digress. That's a whole episode in and of itself.
It is, but it begs the question though, like why was he point out? It begs the question, why did he have to be there though? Yeah, but you're right. That is a whole episode, but it's just, that was insane to me. Yeah. Did you want to talk about the puppetry? Did you want to talk about the puppetry? Because I was impressed by it.
You weren't impressed by it.
I was impressed in this. Okay. Maybe that's a harsh word. Maybe that's over exaggeration. I found it endearing the same way that I find movies of a bygone era, like 1980s, 1970s, it's endearing in the sense that, CGI was limited back in those days. So they used puppetry. They could have easily used puppets, CGI in this movie, but using puppets, I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah. This is a perfect, I think, example of the backlash to the overdoing of use of CGI in stuff like the prequels that George Lucas did, to where it's gone almost too far in the other direction, which is odd to say because there's stuff, some clearly blatantly digital altered scenes in the film that are like not hard to miss. It's like, oh, this character stands up. Clearly, that's not a real background behind him. It's like blatantly obvious. Now, so there's that. That's very much like the prequels. But then it's like, okay, I'm of the mind that I think Yoda looked pretty decent as a CGI character. Sure, you could quibble from a story perspective why he suddenly became a little ninja, but that's just a story beat that has nothing to do with how good he looks or doesn't look as a character. Baby Yoda, yes, absolutely, or Grogu, as Disney wants us to call him, is definitely a cute character, adorable, some might say. But as the narrative of both the show and now subsequently the movie has gone on, where he's become more and more involved in action scenes, it is clear to me that they did not, I think, foresee him being as big of a hit as he came to be, because it clearly feels like they've written stuff in the show retroactively changed things in the show to accommodate him being more in front of the camera. And as he's gone to do more stuff in the show, it's become more and more apparent in a way that isn't flattering, I think, that yes, he is a puppet. Obviously we all know that, but there's just stuff he does that's like, this looks, what you said, like a movies of a bygone era, which sure, there's a certain charm to that, but it's also like, guys, like, this is taking me out of it in the opposite way that having too much CGI can take me out of it. It's like it's going from one extreme to the other.
Okay. I guess I see what you're saying, because aside from Grogu, there was those little in the movie, there's these little I don't even know if there's a name for them. I know you're a Star Wars fan. I don't know if you know what they're called, but they're like these little alien things.
Yeah, and I can't pronounce their name as a Star Wars fan, so I'm a fake fan. My luster, this cinches it. My zeal for the franchise is not what it once was.
Okay, fair. When they were shown on screen and they started talking the way they did, and were doing the things that they did, I was kind of worried that they were going to go in the direction of the Minions, which, it's very likely they're going to. They could definitely oversaturate those little guys.
Yeah.
I thought they were kind of a more I thought they were actually kind of one of the more entertaining parts of the movie. I just thought they were like
they were fun. And they're, even though they were puppets, it didn't come off as fake looking as Grogu did at times, in my opinion.
Well, so that's where I was going to say, actually. They were fun to watch, probably one of the more entertaining parts of the movie. But their movements were very jittery, which, that took me out in the sense that I'm like, okay, that's clearly a puppet. That was also the case with Grogu in some moments. But again, there's that level of like kind of effort and just, not effort, but giving a little more effort, actually creating these puppets, which is a little bit more endearing. The thing is, like, it exists in the previous Star Wars movies, and I was able to buy into it. The fact that they're trying again here, I'm like, okay, that's a step in the right direction as opposed to too much CGI. So I don't know. I guess I kind of disagree. I like the puppets, but that's just because I like movies like that.
I'm glad you said that because I should clarify. I am really mainly attacking Grogu.
Gotcha.
Fight me.
Okay.
I'm attacking the Grogu puppetry. I genuinely think the other aliens that were puppets I thought were done well. Like okay. I thought that was, and like the herky jerky was kind of worked into their character, you know, like that felt like it complemented what their characters were, you know. So whereas Yoda, you know, we've seen Yoda and his species move, like we know what they move, how they.
Yeah,
move,
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying now.
And it was like, there's no way he's doing this or you know that even for being a little guy, you know. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think another issue I had with the movie is, you know, it's based off a TV show. It felt very much just like a TV special, you know, like the whole sequence where the Mandalorian is knocked out. I forget why he's knocked out, but he's like unconscious. Oh, because he's poisoned.
He's poisoned. Yeah.
Like a spoiler maybe, but and then Grogu is kind of out protecting him. That's the idea of like. And I remember like after that, Grogu kind of there's like some sort of like lesson be held there. It's like, oh, the
young protects the old.
Basically, yeah.
The weak protects the strong. You know.
There you go. Yeah, like I'm like again very surface level, but that whole point in the movie again probably one of the more entertaining sequences in the film. But it felt again just like an episode, like a spinoff episode, or not spinoff episode, but like. You know, just an episode in the series.
It just felt like and don't get me wrong, there's a case to be made for like in abstract, this is definitely okay to essentially treat this as a glorified case of the week episode. That in and of itself is not bad. And in fact, some would say that's even more charming than just continuing the serialized narrative. But the way the show leaves season 3 and has seeded stuff beyond in that and other shows, it's like, yeah, it just felt very hollow. And getting to, you know, talking about Star Wars in general, one of my issues. So at the same time that Mandalorian came out, or right before, Disney released Maul Shadow Lord, the first season of a show, obviously centering on Darth Maul, and that is very much in the style of the Clone Wars animation. And phenomenal Star Wars show. Yes, obviously it's a fan servicey show, you know, but it's great. It's also just a great popcorn, you know, time. You know, I would say popcorn picture, but it's a popcorn show. That's what it is. Popcorn show. And it's just fun. And it's also like, whoa, you know, there's some like general whoa moments, even though, you know, some of the characters' fate, they introduce new characters, make you care about them in ways that the Mandalorian didn't. And it's like, wow, okay, there's some really epic stuff. It really feels like Star Wars, which by the name itself invokes some sort of epic feeling to it, you know?
Right, yeah.
Mandalorian and Grogu does not feel like that at all. And I kept thinking to myself as I was watching Mandalorian and Grogu for the first time, I saw it twice. And one was because I got a preview screening.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, preview screen. Anyway, I saw it twice. The first time I saw it, I couldn't help but thinking to myself, man, I wish I was watching Maul on the big screen. I'd rather be seeing Maul on the big screen right now. That would be really cool to be experiencing in the theater. There's character stakes. There's epic lightsaber duels. There's battles. You know, there's great characters. You know, we care deeply about who have lore. You know, and like I would have rather have been watching that. And Mandalorian, even though it started strong, the fact that it's now been reduced to this as of now, to where it's just pumping out a spin-off film, or not spin-off film, but like basically loose continuation of the show, just to what amounts as a cash grab, is just so sad.
Yeah, no, I agree. The fate of like Star Wars is the fate of the duels is fate of the Star
dark
Wars.
Side rises.
Isn't Fate of the Duels? It's a Star Wars song, is it not?
Duel of the Fates.
Yeah. Duel of the Fates. Okay, see, my mistake. But anyways, the fate of Star Wars, it's kind of, it's upsetting where it's at right now. I could be wrong. I'm sure there's like maybe TV shows or something, but the thing about Star Wars is like the universe is so expansive, right? And the idea of Star Wars is like, there's a big universe out there, but they focus on the same characters. It's almost like it's not a big universe. It feels like it's taking place in a small town. I'm like, if they want to keep the franchise alive, is there a reason why they're not just kind of creating a movie based off like a completely new character unrelated to?
Well, that's the movie that's coming out next year, which does actually, sound a little bit more interesting. It has Ryan Gosling, and Ryan Gosling typically
that's
elevates movies he's in, even if the movie around him isn't that great. So we're seeing. This feels very much like they just needed to pump one out to keep it kind of in conversation, So, and they did it with a safe because, actually, that's curious. What do you think, Jose? How much money is it making right now, or has made?
I'm gonna say 200 million.
That it's I'm sorry, that it's made profit or total gross?
Total gross. Well, hold up. Okay, let me think about this again. If the movie probably costs.
Do you want me to tell you how much the movie cost?
I'm gonna say 300. Yeah, how much did it cost?
165 million.
Okay, I was saying 200 million. I thought it was gonna cost 200 million.
Okay, that's crazy. It's higher than 200 million. It's still. I'm a little shocked at how low it is. I thought it had at least cleared like 400 mil or was on its way to, which I suppose it still technically could, but I thought it had already done it.
Okay, I'm going to say my final answer is 32 million. Or sorry, 3,200 million.
3,200 million. 3,200 million. Okay. What?
What?
32. You mean 320?
What am I saying? Yes, 320.
Yeah, 320. Okay.
Yes.
Right. 3,200 million.
Goodness. Yes. What did I say? 3,200.
3,200 million. I was like, what? Okay.
I gotta go back to school. Okay.
Yeah. 315.1 million. You were very close. Okay. Which I would have guessed, like I said, like 400 million or something. I'm shocked it's that low, and like it's probably still dropping like a stone. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. A part of that is just due to the strength of, like Backrooms and Obsession that kind of came out of nowhere. But it's also indicative of the fact, even if you had a Backrooms and Obsession overperformance, if the Star Wars was good, you would be making bank as well, and it's not like there's a lot of the same fans going to Obsession and Backrooms versus Star Wars. Star Wars is a little bit more accessible.
But you bring up an interesting point though, because
I do, don't I?
I'm like, I feel like the conversation right now though. It's like right now no one's talking about Star Wars. Like there's a Star Wars movie in theaters right now, and no one's talking about that. They're talking about Backrooms and Obsession, and that's kind of crazy. Yeah, that's like where the culture is at right now.
The fact that the franchise has gone to this point where, basically nobody cares about the first movie in 7 years. Whereas you compare that to, Episode 7, Force Awakens, when it came out, it was 10 years after the last Star Wars movie. Huge, made bank. There were lines out the door. It was a cultural event. Whatever you think of that movie. It's like a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, it's crazy to me because I think we're like kind of talking away from Star Wars now, but I feel like it's been a long time since I've seen so many people in the theaters. I feel like 2026 is a year where like movies are making a huge comeback because Star Wars, even though no one's talking about it, again, my theater was fairly full. Seats were limited. The turnout of Backrooms is great. Obsession was also great. Earlier this year, Mario was like full. Even Scary Movie, I know that's like not something that you're even remotely interested in. At least I don't think so. The parody spoof.
No, but it did well. It did well in its first weekend, and I'm sure it was cheap enough its first weekend, and a little bit extra was all it needed to turn a profit. So
yeah, it's just kind of crazy where movies are right now. That like there's actually quite a bit of turnout.
No, it definitely feels like there's been, certainly since COVID, this feels like it's trending to be the strongest year. For a while, and it feels like the overall quality of films have definitely improved. I'd say, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that the Odyssey, I mean, granted, it's one of the greatest filmmakers of our time, but the fact that the Odyssey is likely to do as well as it's projected, despite being an R-rated, almost 3-hour epic, speaks to, just kind of the varying taste versus, something like Obsession, which is a hard R horror comedy, essentially that was made for a fraction of the cost. It's just, there's a good variety right now available. And it speaking to that variety is Star Wars is very much not variety. It's very much something we've done before. There's nothing in that Star Wars movie that we haven't seen before. And a lot of people have already seen it based on the stuff on the small screen. So it's like you're already trying to find an uphill battle these days to get people to go out to theaters in the first place. So all you're doing with this movie is just be like, I'll wait till it pops on Disney Plus. And guess what? If I had seen this on Disney Plus, I don't think my experience would change that much.
Yeah. I feel like there's a bigger, more interesting conversation had with Star Wars that are they just failing at bringing a new generation to Star Wars, or is it possible that it's just it's a franchise from the 80s or 70s technically? Is it just no one really cares about that anymore? Is it just too old at this point?
No, I think it's that they're failing because the prequels are the perfect example of that. Everybody yells at the prequels, and oh, they suck, and everything. However, there are people, myself included, who grew up with the prequels, and there are fans who will defend them to the death to this day. I won't defend them to the death. They are clearly flawed movies, but they still retained a sense of wonder and awe and that epic feel that just as a kid, because remember, George Lucas always said this is a franchise made for 8-year-olds. It's supposed to be fun for kids. This is supposed to be cool, and there were those fans, and even I think to a degree, you could have maybe at least initially said that with the sequel trilogy. However, 7 years later now from the last Star Wars movie, the fact that Mandalorian did not do anywhere close to the same numbers as those movies. Not that it was going to do the same numbers, but anywhere close does speak to the fact that I think even if you have new fans of Star Wars, they don't care about the current output of stuff.
Well, like I said, I'm always an advocate for these movies, even though I'm not a fan. I always want to see.
Well, yeah, and I mean, look, Sean Levy next year is coming out with Star Wars Starfighter, starring Ryan Gosling, which is the first straight up original Star Wars film since obviously the original trilogy. I'd say, and honestly, in some respects, the prequel trilogy as well. The prequel trilogy was not driven by nostalgia to the degree that the sequel trilogy was. The prequel trilogy was just George Lucas. It was still his vision, So whether you agree with it or not, it was still his vision. It was still what he wanted to tell. And it felt like a filmmaker doing what he wanted to do, Whereas all of in the case of Last Jedi, it was what a filmmaker wanted to do to the detriment. But then it was overcorrected with Rise of Skywalker, and that's where we are now. I could rant for days, but I won't.
Sure, fair. I'll say Jon Favreau is becoming a director who, I'm just not. You hate him. I mean, when he's attached to a project, directing wise, I'm just so uninterested. Although I do want to. I heard Chef is.
Yet Favreau still arrives all the same.
I heard Chef might be the only one that I may like, but actually, I like Elf.
I've heard good things about that movie. Oh, Elf is. I think Elf's a little overrated, but it's still fun. I think he has talent. I mean, he did the first Iron Man. I mean, think if Iron Man had failed, think of how differently movies would be today. You could argue for better or for worse, but it completely changed the landscape because he succeeded with that movie.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
And Iron Man is objectively a good film.
No, that's fair. I don't know why. When I think of Jon Favreau, I think my first thought goes Lion King and what else did he do? I don't know. I think of Elf and Lion King with Jon Favreau. Lion King being his biggest failure.
Jungle Book. He did the Jungle Book,
which also was a failure. I did not like that movie. Did you like that movie?
Not commercially. I didn't see it, but I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I'm saying he keeps getting gigs because most of his movies have been successful enough.
Yeah. just to clarify, I meant failure in the sense that I thought it wasn't a good movie, but you're right. It did make more money than I could ever fathom.
Yeah. Which, I mean, objectively speaking, I think Mandalorian is headed to being a failure commercially, just by the box office numbers. I don't think it will be a failure in terms of doing what Disney wants it to do, which is drive more merchandise. So, which we'll see. It'll be. I truly think Star Wars Starfire will be the first real test of whether Star Wars has any staying power. Because if Star Wars Starfire is good and it's disconnected from most of the Disney stuff and it gets good word of mouth and it proves successful, then it's like, okay, Star Wars still has a chance to be what it was, or at least close to it, but if not, if that fails, if it's bad, then there's no hope.
With Starfighter, are they going to like make it a little more mature? Do you know? Are they going to like is it like going to be like a Blade Runner thing, or is it kind of like?
No, I think it's still going to be like PG-13. I mean, the log line of it, right?
You're saying like Disney PG-13, right? They're not going to like experiment with it.
Yeah. It's not going to be like some edgy PG-13. It'll be like the movies, probably even a little less edgy based on what I know of the plot.
Okay. I don't know the log line.
It's Ryan Gosling plays some sort of pilot, who gets paired with his nephew on the run with a starfighter from people after either the kid or the starfighter or both. And there's rumors that the kid is force sensitive. And it takes place after Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, that sounds fun. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to just kind of make a prediction. I know it's supposed to be like an original idea, but you know how like in Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, the whole I think the whole if I remember correctly, the whole marketing was like, oh, this is just the Joker movie. Batman's not related in this at all. But they still couldn't help themselves by showing a scene with like little Bruce Wayne as a child. Yeah. I'm worried that this movie is going to kind of like, it's disconnected, don't worry. But then there's like a little like C-3PO cameo in the background or something, It's like, I just want it so disconnected. Just don't,
I think depending on how the plot goes, I think there's two characters I could see being a semi-natural folding in. I just don't know if people care enough about those characters and also whether it's even worth having them there. And it would cheapen the film overall. Assuming it's good. We're talking about this assuming it might be good. It may stink.
Well, before I'm done talking Star Wars, but who do you think the characters are? Share.
Oscar Isaac and John Boyega. I can't imagine that I could see being it. I don't think it would be John Boyega because of the shitty experience he said he's had, and Disney has completely mishandled his character. Poe / Oscar Isaac, I think could make sense based on what we know about that character.
Okay, yeah, I can see that too. Should we get into ratings?
Yeah, I'm giving Mandalorian and Grogu a big fat. Oh, I gave it a 6. That's even charitable. That's charitable. I probably should take it down to a 5.
Yeah, I was going to say 6
I do want to give a shout out that it was really funny to me how they turned Rada the Hutt. Not that we had deep character on him before, but turned him into basically a Hutt with a heart of gold. He's just a misunderstood. And it was absolutely hilarious seeing him fight. I mean, it was kind of interesting. Like, if the movie itself was better, it would be like a fun quirk, but it just added to kind of the laughability of some of the movie. And yeah, I should probably give it lower. I'll leave it for now. Maybe I'll feel better. Maybe I'm just being overly negative on it, but it certainly doesn't rise anywhere close above a 6.
I think you
give it a 4. You give it a 4.
Yes.
You be brutally honest. I'm still laying the shadow of nostalgia past.
That's fine. No,
it's not. Put me in my place. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, again, I don't yuck. I try not to yuck yums. I guess I give it a 4. It's not, it's again disappointing because I was hoping for like an okay Star Wars movie, or a better Star Wars movie rather. But there were things I enjoyed. I thought the whole being unfamiliar with like Star Wars you're right, like the Jabba the Hutt with the heart of gold. I like that idea, even though he looked kind of silly fighting, but I like that idea. I like the puppetry. But yeah, just like the story wise, I don't care. Yeah, 4 out of 10.
You should never walk out of a Star Wars movie feeling so like meh about it.
Yeah.
If you walk out of a Star Wars movie feeling meh, not excited about something, then that movie failed. And I can point to at least one sequence in literally every movie, even the ones I strongly dislike, that is interesting or like fun or like, wow, you can't do that in this film. I will say one unmitigated success of the film. AMC, as you know, have these MacGuffin bar cocktail tie-ins. And so this one was Hyperspace Punch. It was delicious. I
Nice.
highly recommend it. I don't think it's there anymore. But if
Nice recommendation.
You had a chance to get it, you were very lucky. It was good. It was delicious. In fact, I'm trying to see, trying to remember what the ingredients were.
I was gonna say they might have the recipe online.
It was pineapple, lemonade, and tequila.
Oh, it's easy.
It was delicious. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
It was delicious.
I'm learning more and more. Like certain pineapple juice brands. Obviously, they will taste differently though. So it'd be nice to know like what exactly they used.
It's true. Next week or next episode, whatever that is, we're going to be talking about what, Jose?
I'm guessing Disclosure Day.
We're gonna be talking some Disclosure Day, and
maybe Toy Story. What do you think?
Might be talking Toy Story 5, and I think we're leaving it there. Some big blockbuster movies to dissect coming out. We will do so in the next episode of Popcorn and Pictures, where I, your host, Sam Karpinski, I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself, or Jose, your co-host, Jose Mendoza. I know everybody was wondering who was behind this microphone, but I, your host, Sam Karpinski, signing off along with your co-host,
Jose Mendoza. That's me.
From Popcorn and Pictures. Another episode in the book. Go watch some movies, y'all. Take care. Bye.